It all started on a seemingly peaceful day at an ordinary high school. But inside the classroom, the air was already thick with hushed whispers. A group of students were openly gossiping about the boy sitting alone. A single, sharp step cut through the noise of the room. The boy's eyes narrowed, a cold glint appearing within them. The newcomer smirked, demanding everyone greet the arriving Boss Choi. The students all stand to greet the newcomer, calling him Boss Choi. A girl immediately asks him about the sales of his new products. He smirks, revealing a staggering sales record of over 48 million won. Her jaw drops at the sight of the 48 million won sales figure. The room fills with praise as they celebrate Boss Choi's achievement. But his triumphant smirk hints that there is a condition attached. His triumphant gaze wasn't for his fans, but for the boy sitting alone. Choi announced he had some business to take care of before celebrating. Without warning, he grabbed Park Hanjun by the hair, shouting his name. A sickening thud echoed as Hanjun's head was smashed onto the desk. His grip tightened as he furiously accused Hanjun of ignoring him. He screamed that Hanjun had failed to buy all his new products. He accused Hanjun of trying to bankrupt his entire business operation. Another vicious slam sent Hanjun crashing down onto the floor. Suddenly calm, Choi condescendingly said he would have understood Hanjun's situation. His followers taunted him, asking if he feared a teacher's punishment. But Choi just laughed, revealing even the teachers were in his debt. His fists tightened as he made a chilling threat against any who betrayed him. He roared about turning the classroom into a bloodbath, landing another vicious blow. But something about Hanjun's reaction made him pause, a flicker of confusion appearing. Hanjun's eyes opened, revealing not fear, but an icy, unyielding glare. Choi taunts him, asking if his scary expression means he'll fight back. He dares Hanjun to report him, promising a vicious and certain payback. The bully reveals Hanjun was ruined by someone named Kim Ch. Choi demands he speak, but Hanjun's mind only repeats Kim Cheonsu's name. The story flashes back to years, revealing a legendary gang called Nexus. The shocking truth is revealed. Hanjun was the leader of this powerful organization. He led his entire organization into a war against Kim Cheon. He stood alone in the rain, the sole victor of a brutal battle. But just as he thought he'd won, his own members betrayed him. His own organization systematically framed him, fabricating evidence in court. He lost the trial, betrayed by the very men he once led. The consequences were devastating, forcing his father to sell his lifelong gym. After that devastating incident, Hanjun made a solemn vow. He swore to never fight again, filled with regret for his father. But the past fades as Choi's hand snaps across his face. His father taught him a devastating truth about the world's cruelty. With his past buried, a new day seemed to promise peace. Each heavy step was a reminder of the promise he made. The world continued on, filled with casual plans and easy laughter. But his attempt at peace was shattered by a single backward glance. A hostile voice called out his name, confirming his past was inescapable. The thugs laughed, confirming Hanjun was the one who fought Nexus. Now, just a shell. Their leader turned to face him, a cruel smirk revealing his hostile intentions. Stepping behind Hanjun, the man offered a condescending and threatening greeting. The thug flashed a ring, asking if Hanjun recognized the symbol. Hanjun's eyes went cold, the sight of it confirming his worst fears. Suddenly, a sharp, cracking sound echoed through the empty alleyway. A vicious punch sent Hanjun reeling backwards from the impact. They mocked him, questioning if this was the same legendary Park. Another kick landed as they dismissed him as nothing but a fool. The thug sneered, wondering if the legend was just a dork all along. Another thug grabbed him, mocking the idea that this weakling fought Nexus. But the final insult was a lie, claiming his own father sold him off. But the final insult shattered his vow, his hand lashing out. The thug's face contorted in a mask of pure disbelief. A cold, terrifying fury ignited in Hanjun's once empty eyes. The thug froze. His kick caught effortlessly in Hanjun's grasp. He calmly explained he mistook the thug's leg for a piece of trash. A brutal twist sent the thug spinning, his body contorted in agony. A wave of disbelief and fear washed over the other thugs. The leader couldn't believe he was just intimidated by this guy. And all it took was a single, terrifying glance from Hanjun. The leader's disbelief twisted into a mask of pure, murderous rage. Refusing to accept defeat, he reached for a nearby wooden plank. He swung the plank down with all his might, screaming curses at Hanjun. But the weapon splintered on impact, leaving Hanjun completely unharmed. The leader screamed in fury, questioning how Hanjun could still move. The shattered remains of his weapon lay useless on the ground. Blood splattered the ground beside the shattered pieces of his weapon. With a nervous breath, the leader ordered his men to retreat. He muttered a pathetic excuse, claiming the fight had tired him out. A well-dressed stranger suddenly appeared, looking down on the fallen leader. He ran a hand through his hair, questioning who this pathetic man was. He looked down on them, his voice cold as he questioned their actions. The stranger questions Hanjun's resolve, asking if he's too scared to seek revenge. Hanjun coldly replies that if he acted, their lives would be utterly ruined. The man realizes Hanjun lacks the funds and offers a mysterious solution. He then opens his bag, revealing an unbelievable amount of cash. He tells Hanjun this is enough to hire a law firm or to handle it his own way. The stranger then asks how long it would take to catch the ones who betrayed him. Hanjun considered the question, wondering if it would take 3 or 5 minutes. Suspicion filled his eyes as he asked the stranger who he was. The man revealed his true motive. He also wanted to kill Kim Chian's. Hanjun flinched, the stranger's words hitting him with unexpected force. But the man said they couldn't talk here, with too many ears listening. The terrified thug could only stammer, wondering who this powerful man was. Their eyes widened in shock, unable to comprehend the mountain of cash on the ground. The leader's confusion grew, wondering how this supposed loser had so much money. His tone shifted instantly to greed, offering a pathetic apology for the beating. Hanjun answered the pathetic plea with a single, brutal punch. A spray of blood and teeth exploded from the thug's mouth. His body flew through the air as Hanjun stood completely unfazed. The remaining thugs could only stare, their faces pale with shock. Their leader was left broken and bleeding on the cold alley floor. They cried out in disbelief, completely paralyzed by the sudden turn of events. Hanjun's answer was chillingly precise, a mere 4 seconds. The man couldn't comprehend what he had just heard. He clarified that 4 seconds was all he needed to end them. The terrified thugs pleaded with him to stop, their confidence completely shattered. They desperately tried to shift the blame onto their fallen leader, but Hanjun's cold gaze promised their pathetic excuses meant nothing. The first thug's face contorted as Hanjun's fist connected. A second punch landed with devastating force on the other thug. He moved between them in a blur, a whirlwind of brutal efficiency. In a matter of seconds, the alley floor was littered with broken bodies. He stood untouched amidst the carnage he had just created. With the thugs silenced, he confirmed that no one was listening anymore. With a confident smirk, the stranger now demanded to know Hanjun's identity. Their conversation moved from the dark alley to a place of immense power. The man casually asked if Hanjun ever bothered to watch the news. With a confident smirk, he held up his phone to reveal his identity. The screen displayed the profile of Oh Junwoo, Korea's youngest conglomerate. He boasted of having enough wealth to use money like it was nothing. Oh Junwoo offered a sarcastic apology for his earlier display of wealth. He revealed Kim Cheonsu was now a celebrated and successful pro-gamer. He taunted Hanjun, asking if the cruel irony of it all wasn't hilarious. Oh Junwoo explained that Cheonsu still surrounds himself with thugs and gangsters. He explained the bitter irony of Cheonsu living the life he stole from Hanjun. With his power, destroying Cheonsu would be simple, but there was a catch. But Hanjun's cold gaze revealed that simple destruction wasn't his goal. He wanted to use Cheonsu's own disgusting methods to utterly crush him. Junwoo then made an incredible offer, promising to fund his entire life. He promised to restore everything, even the gym his father had lost. In return, he asked only that Hanjun lend him his devastating fists. Hanjun remained silent, the weight of the offer pressing down on him. Hanjun broke the silence, demanding to know why Junwoo hated Kim Chian's. The conglomerate shifted slightly, his posture radiating an unshakable confidence. A faint smirk formed as he prepared to reveal his own dark connection. He deflects the question, asking if his personal reasons truly matter. He promises the reason will become clear as Hanjun strides back into school. Junwoo explains their simple partnership. Hanjun has the fists and he has the money. He explained the most important fact was that they shared the same enemy. Junwoo revealed their first target was a Nexus member inside Hanjun's school. His followers were already pressuring students to obey their boss's demands. Junwoo continued, explaining that the world was built on a single, brutal principle. He declared that, in the end, everything was simply about money. Honor, relationships, and quality of life were all meaningless concepts. Hanjun's hand tightened, the veins bulging with a silent, simmering fury. Because with money, a single punch could solve everything. The entire classroom froze, their faces masks of pure shock and disbelief. Blood splattered the wall as the students cowered in absolute terror. The brutal impact hammered home the first part of the lesson: money. And Hanjun's cold glare delivered the final, chilling truth: is status. Junwoo recalled a time when he believed there was nothing to fear in the world. He was convinced that no one on earth was more powerful than him. But that all changed the day he met a certain, terrifying man. A single punch from this man was an explosion of raw, terrifying force. Junwoo felt the shockwave as he learned the monster's name was Park Hanjun. Even now, he remembered the single thought that crossed his mind: that bastard. Junwoo realized with chilling certainty that he could never defeat that man. It felt like Hanjun wasn't even human, but a terrifying beast in disguise. But then his world was shattered again when he met Kim Cheonsu used his wealth to sue Hanjun, leaving him utterly broken and desperate. It was in that moment that a profound truth dawned on Jun. He understood that having an obscene amount of money was the ultimate power. He set up a simple online business for his underling, Boss Choi. This was the simple method he used to generate his immense wealth. And with that financial power, he placed Park Hanjun under his complete control. With Hanjun as his weapon, Junwoo's confidence became absolute. He believed he had finally become the ultimate predator once again. But the reality of Hanjun's power was far more brutal than he imagined. Junwoo could only stare, a primal fear seizing him for the second time. The bully couldn't comprehend how this penniless loser was overpowering him. One girl tried to shield her friend from the brutal, bloody spectacle. He turned his rage on his followers, demanding to know why they were staring. But their fear meant nothing as Hanjun's fist tightened for another attack. Another punch landed, silencing Choi's pathetic cries of embarrassment and rage. The relentless assault continued, a powerful kick aimed at Choi's head. The bully collapsed to his knees, spitting blood onto the classroom floor. His face contorted with rage as he struggled to curse Hanjun's name. Each heavy footstep echoed as Hanjun approached the fallen bully. A dark shadow fell over Choi as Hanjun stood looming above him. The bully's face contorted, his mind unable to process the absolute defeat. A pathetic flinch was the only response the terrified bully could manage. In a desperate plea, he ordered his follower Jo Young-jun to restrain Hanjun. But Jo Young-jun could only flinch, paralyzed by the sight of Hanjun's power. A terrifying aura radiated from Hanjun, silencing the entire classroom. The terrified follower could only curse, realizing Hanjun was overdoing it. He then turned his attention back to the fallen Choi, who spat out a curse. The bully trembled on the floor, staring up at Hanjun's cold silhouette. He desperately threatened him, warning he would be ruined, just like last time. But a vicious kick sent the phone flying, silencing his empty words. Choi howled in pain, blood erupting from his shattered nose. But Hanjun gave him no time to recover, his fist crashing into Choi's jaw. His furious screams were drowned out by the sound of another vicious punch. For the first time, the bully truly feared for his life. He screamed in terror, desperately trying to crawl away from Hanjun's wrath. His followers could only watch as their leader scrambled for his life. Choi desperately tried to calm himself, clinging to his title of boss. But his followers remembered a fighter who hadn't used his fists in 2 years. A boy named Park Soo-won, a fighter who would do anything for money. He frantically called out for Park Soo-won, a powerful figure in the gym. Soo-won calmly looked up, asking what had happened to his face. The terrified bully could only curse as he begged Soo-won to save him. Soo-won's sudden appearance left the terrified bully completely speechless. Choi screamed, promising a massive reward of 1 million won to beat Hanjun. Soo-won calmly confirmed the offer, asking if it was 1 million won to beat Park Hanjun. Soo-won considered the offer, then calmly countered with a price of 2 million. Choi screamed in agreement, desperate to see Hanjun taken down first, because he knew for a fact that Park Soo-won was a truly brutal fighter. Soo-won offered a flimsy excuse about needing money for his college exam. But Hanjun's cold silence was his only response. He then repeated the question as he reached into his pocket. The hired fighter could only respond with a confused grunt. He calmly stated that there was no need for him to get involved. He offered the cash, demanding that Soo-won simply move aside. A cold, calculating look filled Soo-won's eyes as he made his choice. He casually took the money, thanking Hanjun as if betraying his boss was nothing. Betrayed and abandoned, Choi could only scream curses at the man he hired. Each heavy footstep was a promise of what was coming for Choi. He dragged the terrified bully out into the hallway of Class 3A. A final, brutal throw sent Choi crashing through the classroom door. The bully's body crashed through the wooden door like a missile. The homeroom teacher appeared, demanding to know what was happening. But another figure calmly stepped into the nascent classroom. The teacher could only stammer Hanjun's name, his face a mask of shock. His face twisted with rage as he screamed, demanding to know what was happening. But Hanjun simply stared back, his expression cold and completely unbuckled. The scene shifts to an office, a violent slam setting a tense new tone. A heavy object crashes down, pinning Hanjun's hand to the desk in a show of force. The man roars, accusing Hanjun of being a ruffian for attacking his supposed friend. The man screamed, claiming he was the one who saved Hanjun from expulsion. The man threatened severe punishment, but Hanjun's relaxed posture showed pure contempt. But the only response he received was a cold, condescending smirk from Hanjun. The man tried to use Hanjun's father as a weapon against him, but Hanjun's fist crashed into his face, silencing the pathetic threat. His face contorted in disbelief as he questioned Hanjun's sanity. A flurry of brutal punches rained down, each one a merciless blow. He finally understood the terrifying mistake he had just made. The teacher stood frozen in the doorway, witnessing the brutal beat. A calm voice cuts through the chaos as Oh Junwoo tells Hanjun to stop. The brutal assault halts as Hanjun's cold eyes find the newcomer. The room fell silent, the beaten teacher cowering as Hanjun took a seat. The beaten teacher could only stammer, demanding to know who this man was. The man introduced himself as Kim Byung-gwine, a lawyer from Korea's top law firm. His mind reeled, unable to comprehend why this powerful lawyer was at their school. The scene shifts, overlooking the vast and glittering city at night. Junwoo's voice takes over, asking what happened after the lawyer's arrival. The once arrogant principal now groveled, offering a pathetic apology to Hanjun. Junwoo explained that the principal immediately expelled boss Choi from the school. He then casually remarked how simple it was to resolve the entire issue. After 2 years of torment, it was time for Choi to pay for his actions. Hanjun then asked what happened to the corrupt principal. Junwoo smirked, explaining that making the man compliant was even easier. He revealed a photo of the principal's dirty dealings, which he used as leverage. Junwoo explained the principal wouldn't go to jail immediately, but his time was coming. It was more convenient to use the principal to send boss Choi to juvie first. Once Choi was gone, the corrupt principal would be sent to prison right after. Junwoo sneered, saying he refused to pay taxes for corrupt teachers like him. He then asked Hanjun if it was refreshing to finally unleash his anger. Hanjun quietly admitted that it did feel a little bit good to let go. Junwoo smirked, questioning if Hanjun only felt a little bit of satisfaction. He reminded Hanjun that there was still much more to do for true satisfaction. But Junwoo then prepared to reveal the true point of their meeting. Junwoo reintroduced himself, saying this time it felt more appropriate. Hanjun's expression remained cold, his guards still firmly in place. Junwoo then revealed the location of their ultimate target, Kim Cheon. The news of Hanjun's return sent shockwaves of rage through Kim Cheon-soo. His fist hammered down again and again, a storm of pure fury. He screamed Park Hanjun's name, his face twisted with murderous hatred. Another blow struck the desk, his rage echoing through the room. He refused to believe he would be defeated, his thoughts were consumed by a burning hatred for Park Hanjun. The scene shifts to an apartment complex where a mysterious hooded figure has just arrived. A man inside breathes a sigh of relief, but a sudden doorbell rings through the room. He cautiously opens the door, only to be met with a terrifying and unexpected sight. The visitor was a battered boss Choi, who snarled that he was going to kill him. The story then shifts to a seemingly peaceful day in the city. A hooded figure walked with purpose down a narrow alleyway. The hooded figure landed a vicious kick, driving the man to his knees. A brutal punch followed, sending blood flying across the room. The man watching, Hwang Jin-sung, noted that his guest had finally arrived. He cursed Boss Choi, blaming him for the brutal attack he was enduring. But his words were cut short by another devastating blow to the face. Hwang Jin-sung then ordered his men to clean up the mess for their guest. The hooded figure praised Hwang Jin-sung, confirming that he could be trusted. Jin-sung replied that this was how they survived, but questioned the unusual visit. His associate pointed out that their guest never came to see them in person. The battered Choi revealed he was there for something big, a job to take care of someone. Hwang Jin-sung laughed, condescendingly asking Boss Choi just how big this job was. Choi's expression hardened as he named his price a staggering 10 million won. Jin-sung's associate cursed, stunned that Boss Choi had so much money to throw around. He eagerly asked who they needed to beat up to earn the massive reward. But instead of an answer, Jin-sung's bat smashed into his associate's face. The battered Choi could only stare, completely bewildered by the sudden violence. Jin-sung explained that his associate's greed was making them all look cheap. He threatened to beat the man like a dog in front of their important guest. Jin-sung correctly guessed that for 10 million won, the target was no ordinary person. With pure hatred, Choi revealed the name of the man he wanted destroyed. Park Hanjun. The name hung in the air, Jin-sung's expression hardening as he considered the job. Jin-sung's expression froze, the name Park Hanjun echoing with a dangerous weight. He scoffed, asking if Choi thought 10 million was enough to fight that monster. But Choi revealed the 10 million won was merely a down payment for the job. He sweetened the deal, promising to double the payment if they succeeded. Jin-sung's eyes narrowed, the massive sum of money clearly on his mind. With a single, chilling word, he confirmed that the deal was on. The scene shifts to a rundown building, a stark contrast to the modern city. A man confidently strides past the police tape, entering the abandoned structure. Inside, Oh Junwoo announces his return, a smug look on his face. He casually apologized for being busy, offering a bag of chicken as a gift. He made a strange comment about the quality of the chicken he brought. He then reminisced about the delicious chicken his father used to sell. He confessed it had been 2 years, the thought making him crave it again. The weight of those 2 years seemed to crash down on him in an instant. He remembered that fateful day, a day that started just like any other. His father stared out the window, lost in a heavy, unspoken silence. He then stood up, announcing that it was finally time for him to leave. He warned that he wouldn't be home for a while, as things were about to get busy. He revealed that the plans he had been preparing were finally starting. The scene then shifts to Junwoo and his subordinate at the abandoned building. His subordinate reported that Boss Choi had already made a move. Junwoo's expression hardened, his plan already set in motion. He told his subordinate that he already knew what needed to be done. He ordered him to deal with anyone who handled things in an unclean way. His subordinate smirked, ready to carry out whatever his employer commanded. The scene shifts as a new question arises under the night sky. A scout, A man on the phone stammers in disbelief at the massive sum being offered. He nervously agreed to the meeting, his voice trembling as he hung up. A heavy silence fell as he stared blankly, processing the unbelievable news. His shock then exploded into pure joy as he told his son he got a job. His father celebrated their good fortune, but Hanjun couldn't shake his suspicion. As Hanjun left to train, his father promised to cook something special for him. The father's face lit up with a hopeful smile, excited for what was to come. But as he left, his father's hopeful expression hardened with resolve. His heavy footsteps echoed in the stairwell as he headed out. A sudden call confirmed his enemy, Boss Choi, had already made a move. Junwoo explained that Choi had hired a group of runaway thugs to attack him. He told Hanjun to call him the moment the thugs made their move. But Hanjun simply hung up, his silence a clear sign of his intentions. He coldly informed Junwoo that there was no need to make the call. He explained that the runaway thugs had already found and surrounded him. Their leader stepped forward, offering a smug and threatening greeting. But as he prepared for the fight, his phone rang with an unknown number. His eyes widened as he recognized the voice on the other end. Suddenly, a white van's headlights flared to life, aimed directly at him. The leader roared with greed, declaring that the 10 million won was theirs. The voice on the other end belonged to his father, leaving him utterly speechless. Before he could process the call, a heavy boot slammed down in front of him. A vicious kick sent the first thug flying backwards into the darkness. The leader and his men could only stare in stunned disbelief. A second blow landed with brutal force, taking down another thug. The thug could only scream as Hanjun's attack sent him reeling back. His next attack sent two more thugs crashing hard against the van. One of the thugs slammed onto the cold pavement, utterly defeated. The last thug collapsed, leaving a pool of blood on the cold pavement. The leader tried to laugh it off, dismissing Hanjun's actions as suicidal. But a chilling realization hit him. Hanjun's words were not a bluff. The last of his men hit the ground, his hand slamming onto the pavement. Jin-sung could only stare as Hanjun staggered back to his feet. A single, heavy breath escaped him, his fight far from over. He cursed under his breath, a deep and terrifying anger finally taking hold. A heavy sigh escaped him, a brief pause before the real storm began. He cursed them again, his eyes burning with a promise of absolute destruction. Hanjun now faced the remaining thugs, their weapons glinting in the dark. Jin-sung realized Hanjun's fighting instincts hadn't dulled in the slightest. But a glint in his eye revealed he had found a critical weakness. He knew that even a monster like Hanjun could still be injured. The commotion drew the attention of a man who asked if Hanjun was all right. But a faint smirk on the man's face revealed a hidden, darker motive. Jin-sung screamed at his men to get in the van and escape. With his men scrambling inside, Jin-sung gave the final order to retreat. He left Hanjun with a chilling promise that they would meet again soon. The van screeched away, leaving Hanjun alone in the dark alley. But his attention wasn't on the van, instead turning to the remaining figure. His fist crashed into the face of the man who had been watching. The thugs looked back in disbelief, seeing Hanjun chasing their speeding van. They laughed at his foolish attempt, certain no one could catch a moving car. But their laughter turned to screams as Hanjun impossibly closed the distance. He launched himself into the air, landing squarely on the moving vehicle. He drew back his arm, channeling all his fury into a single point. His fist shattered the driver's side window with explosive force. He reached through the shattered glass and grabbed the terrified driver by the collar. The driver's face contorted as Hanjun's grip tightened around his neck. With a furious roar, he yanked the driver clean out of the moving vehicle. The driver was violently thrown from the van, crashing onto the hard pavement. The thug panicked, screaming that their driver was gone, but Jin-sung coldly ordered him to keep going. The thugs stared in disbelief, unable to comprehend the order to abandon their driver. Jin-sung's voice was ice as he ordered his man to keep driving forward. The van sped off into the distance, leaving the driver behind on the cold asphalt. The abandoned driver could only clutch his head, groaning in pain. Hanjun loomed over the terrified driver, demanding to know where his friends had fled. The thug sneered back, taunting Hanjun that he didn't know their destination. His defiance was met with a brutal punch that silenced his pathetic taunts. Hanjun lifted the terrified driver, his bloody fist a clear warning. His voice was a low growl as he demanded the thug to answer him. But the thug just laughed, daring Hanjun to beat the answer out of him. With his patience gone, Hanjun's bloody fist was the only answer he had left. A final, sickening impact silenced the thug's defiance and sent him crashing down. The scene then shifts back to the apartment where his father was waiting anxiously. The sound of clinking glasses marked the start of their boisterous celebration. The room erupted in cheers as the men celebrated their successful job. But two men sat apart, one calmly telling his subordinate to drink modestly. The battered boss Choi seethed, his face a mask of pure fury. His hand slammed down, crushing his glass in a fit of rage. He screamed at Jin-sung, mocking him for failing to catch Park Han. Jin-sung calmly pointed out their failure, asking what they'd do if Hanjun retaliated. A heavy sigh filled the room, a clear sign of his disappointment in Choi. He condescendingly reassured Choi, doubting Hanjun had the brains to find their hideout. He calmly lectured Choi, saying his anger was making them not want to work. He then offered a proverb, stating, "There's one knife for a chicken and another for an ox." He smashed his glass, furiously reminding Choi that he had asked them to butcher a tiger. He scoffed, explaining that a simple knife could never take down a beast like Han. A bead of sweat ran down Choi's face as he realized his grave miscalculation. He then asked if Choi knew how men used to hunt tigers in the old days. He explained they would release dozens of hunting dogs against the quiet tiger. For months, the pack would relentlessly torture the tiger until it begged for death. A crazed look filled his eyes as he declared this was their new plan for Hanjun. He vowed that Park Hanjun would die a slow death in a horrible bloodbath. But his words were cut short as the door to their hideout was violently smashed open. Jin-sung and his men could only stare, their faces pale with shock and disbelief. A terrified thug cursed, wondering what had just happened to their door. He stared in disbelief at the massive dent in the solid iron door. Another thunderous impact echoed, leaving the thugs completely paralyzed with fear. Jin-sung tried to remain calm, ordering one of his men to check the door. One of the thugs cursed, wondering what kind of madman was at their door. But what he saw through the peephole made his blood run cold. He screamed Hanjun's name, confirming the monster at their door was real. The thugs scrambled in terror, screaming for everyone to grab their weapons. But Jin-sung tried to calm them, certain the iron door couldn't be breached. Then, the thunderous assault on the door suddenly went completely silent. One thug cautiously wondered if Hanjun had finally given up and left. He tried to laugh it off, claiming Hanjun must have been scared of their numbers. The thug's smug confidence instantly turned into confused disbelief. But his confusion exploded into a scream of pure, unadulterated terror, because Hanjun had scaled the building and was now at their window. The window exploded inwards as Hanjun launched himself into the room. Jin-sung's mind reeled, unable to comprehend how this was even possible. Their supposed fortress was on the third floor, a height no man should be able to scale. A brutal kick sent the first thug flying before Hanjun even touched the floor. A second punch landed with brutal force, silencing the thug's scream. The thug's face contorted in agony, his body sent flying from the impact. He ducked under their wild swings, their weapons missing by inches. He exploded upwards, grabbing the first thug in a powerful hold. His hand shot out, seizing the thug's collar with terrifying strength. He used the man as a springboard, delivering a brutal kick to another thug. His cold eyes locked onto his next target, his fist ready to strike. The punch landed with sickening force, crushing the man beneath him. He slammed the man's body down, crushing two more thugs beneath him. He walked forward, his heavy footsteps a promise of more pain to come. His chilling gaze swept over them as he asked who would be next. A sickening crunch echoed as his fist met another thug's face. He stood untouched, a terrifying monster in a room full of broken men. From the street below, The chaos was visible through the broken window. He stood over the fallen, his cold gaze turning to the remaining thugs. Boss Choi panicked, realizing they were completely screwed by this monster. But Jin-sung wondered why Hanjun showed absolutely no fear at all. Then Choi remembered these thugs had easily taken care of Park Soo. Jin-sung was certain this monster had some kind of hidden plan in motion. He believed that if Hanjun fought properly, something far worse would happen. Jin-sung finally gave the order, telling his men to sweep Hanjun up. The remaining thugs lunged forward, their crude weapons ready to strike. But Hanjun's cold gaze showed he was more than ready for them. He ducked beneath a wild swing, the metal pipe whistling past his head. But his hand shot out with impossible speed, catching the weapon midair. The thug's attack stopped dead, his weapon caught in an iron grip. The thug's eyes widened as a sickening crack echoed from his wrist. He immediately turned the weapon against another thug with brutal force. But another attacker moved in, swinging his weapon at Hanjun's blind spot. He effortlessly sidestepped the attack, moving like a phantom. His hand shot out, seizing the man's throat in a vice-like grip. A brutal throw sent the man crashing face first into the hard floor. A thug swung his bat, aiming to finally land a decisive blow. But Hanjun moved with blinding speed, a blur of pure, focused rage. He seized the man by the collar as Jin-sung screamed for the final blow. The final blow landed with a sickening crack, aimed squarely at Hanjun's head. Jin-sung smirked, confident that the devastating blow had finally connected. But his smirk vanished as he stared at the shattered remains of his weapon. He slowly raised his head, a single drop of blood falling from his face. With a furious roar, he threw Jin-sung out of the third-story window. Jin-sung's body crashed onto the cold pavement 3 floors below. Jin-sung lay broken on the pavement as a motorcycle's headlights cut through the darkness. The mysterious rider removed their helmet, revealing a woman with long, dark hair. She smirked, remarking on how fierce the situation had become. A ragged cough escaped Jin-sung, his body completely broken from the fall. He questioned if his pathetic life had finally ended, his vision blurring on a mysterious figure. He cursed in disbelief, wondering if this beautiful woman meant he had somehow arrived in heaven. The woman calmly asked if Park Hanjun was still up in the building. Jin-sung eagerly confirmed Hanjun was there, trying to ask for her number. But her only answer was the helmet crashing viciously into his face. She casually reported Hanjun's rampage, asking what she should do next. On the other end of the line, a serious Oh Junwoo demanded her location. She playfully teased Junwoo, who cut her off and demanded the full details. She playfully complained, unable to decide which of 2 expensive bags to buy. Junwoo cursed in frustration, knowing she was just stalling for a bigger payout. She celebrated his offer of money, thanking her generous CEO for the gift. She playfully reported the chaos, amused as a chair flew from the window. But inside, a new well-dressed man arrived to confront Hanjun. On the floor, the defeated boss Choi finally admitted his utter defeat. The man calmly suggested they should apologize for their loss, but he had a question. With a smug look, he asked Hanjun why he was left for the very end. He then offered to cooperate, asking if Hanjun needed money or manpower. But Hanjun's answer was a single, cold word, rejecting the man's offer entirely. The man's smug confidence shattered, his face twisting with disbelief and rage. Before the man could react, Hanjun's hand shot out, seizing him by the collar. He revealed his only desire was to beat the man into submission. The man's arrogant confidence vanished, replaced by a strangled curse. A brutal punch to the gut followed, silencing his pathetic struggle. He slammed the man down with brutal force, pinning him to the floor. His eyes rolled back as he gasped in pain, completely overpowered. But Hanjun's fist was already raised, ready to deliver another crushing blow. His fist blurred as it descended with merciless speed. A brutal stomp crushed the man's chest, ending the fight. With the final man down, his cold gaze fell upon the last remaining enemy. The terrified boss Choi could only watch from the doorway, paralyzed by fear. He flinched violently, his body trembling, as Hanjun closed the distance. He was dragged out into the open, screaming for the monster to finally stop. Hanjun's voice was low, a chilling plea that was anything but weak. He begged Hanjun to stop wrecking his house, his voice cracking with desperation. He screamed that if Hanjun wanted a fight, he should take it outside. Hanjun's cold voice cut through the chaos, asking why gangsters were destroying his house. The bully's mind finally shattered, screaming why Hanjun was doing this to him. But a sudden arrival at the door cut the chaos short, a familiar face appearing. The man calmly stepped inside, surveying the absolute chaos with a critical eye. He remarked on the destruction, calling Hanjun a truly scary individual. But Hanjun's rage turned on Junwoo, accusing him of orchestrating the entire attack. Junwoo introduced himself as the president of OJ Group, offering to pay 5 times the damages. The bully's mind reeled, stammering the name of the powerful corporation. Seeing an opportunity, Choi cursed and demanded a massive payout of 10 million won, but Yunwoo calmly countered, offering a staggering 50 million won instead. Exhausted from the fight, Hanjun could only watch as Junwoo took control. The defeated man could only curse, wondering if Hanjun was even human. He finally understood this fight was impossible from the very start. A single thought consumed him: he had to run away at all costs. But a heavy boot slammed down, blocking his desperate attempt to flee. A desperate scream echoed as Hanjun launched him across the room. His hand shot out, seizing the man's collar with an iron grip. The man's face contorted in pain, his glasses askew from the impact. With a final, furious throw, he sent the man flying across the room. Hanjun's cold eyes promised that the beating was far from over. A single, terrifying thought consumed him: he was absolutely screwed. But Hanjun's only response was a brutal grip on his collar. A terrified scream ripped from his throat as Hanjun hoisted him into the air. The man crashed to the floor, Hanjun's hand looming over him for the final blow. He screamed in triumph, believing he had finally landed a fatal blow. But his triumph shattered as he looked up to see Hanjun completely unfazed. His desperate screams filled the air as he was violently thrown from the building. The man's body slammed onto the cold pavement, his defeat absolute. Hanjun cursed from above, his rage still burning after the brutal fight. The once arrogant man clutched his arm, panting in pain and disbelief. Junwoo remarked on the man's desperate obsession with staying alive. But the man just laughed, calling Hanjun a crazy bastard. He sneered that Hanjun would finally have to pay the price. But Junwoo could only look on, confused by the man's sudden question. The man asked if they truly understood why they were being targeted. He revealed his father was the CEO of PJ Shipping, backed by the scariest sailors. He boasted that his father's money was powerful enough to erase them completely. But instead of fear, he seemed to relish the idea of this massive conflict. The scene then shifts to a luxurious high-rise under the pale moonlight. Jin-sung could only stammer his father's name, his body trembling in shock. The CEO of PJ Shipping, Wang Haryong, looked down with a cold, questioning gaze. But his father's unexpected presence sent a jolt of pure shock through Jin. The CEO's rage exploded as he demanded to know who dared to hurt his son. Jin-sung then made a chilling request, asking his father to eliminate 2 people at sea. A heavy silence fell as the CEO considered his son's murderous proposal. The CEO warned his son that this decision would haunt him for the rest of his life. But Jin-sung's reason was simple: they had shown him no mercy during the attack. The CEO admitted his son had grown, but still couldn't trust his desperate request. The CEO lectured his son, refusing to help anyone who appeared weak or pathetic. He then ordered his son to think carefully about what he truly wanted. Jin-sung wiped away his tears, preparing to face his father with new resolve. His face twisted with hatred as he demanded his father kill the men who attacked him. A twisted smile of approval spread across his father's face, praising his son's decision. He immediately made a call, ordering Department Head Kim to begin the operation. The CEO gave a chilling order, requesting 2 drums be brought over. His eyes burned with rage as he vowed to teach the 2 cowards a lesson. The CEO's men mobilized instantly, surrounding their target on the highway. A luxury car screeched to a halt at a desolate construction site. An army of hardened sailors emerged, their footsteps echoing with menace. The department head scoffed, wondering why the CEO brought an army for a kids' fight. He declared that if they went crazy on his kid, he would do the same to them. But a new figure calmly remarked that no one enjoys being beaten up. He then turned, asking CEO Wang Haryong if he didn't agree with that simple fact. The CEO turned, a flicker of confusion crossing his hardened face. But his confusion instantly exploded into shock as he recognized the voice. He stammered in disbelief, demanding to know why Chairman Oh Junwoo was there. The CEO's body went rigid, a wave of shock paralyzing him completely. He tried to brush off the urgent call, but the panicked voice on the other end insisted. The news was a catastrophe. Every deal with OJ Group had been instantly cancelled. The voice on the phone confirmed Chairman Oh Junwoo had personally cancelled everything. A smug smile spread across his face, enjoying the CEO's absolute terror. The CEO's mind reeled, his entire empire crumbling in a single moment. The once powerful CEO groveled on the ground, begging Junwoo for mercy. But his desperation quickly turned to rage, screaming for Junwoo to shut up. Junwoo smirked, pleased that the CEO finally understood who was in control. He then ordered the sailors to get rid of the dingy molds in front of them. Without a second thought, the sailors abandoned their boss and drove away. The CEO screamed, asking what Junwoo meant by no longer using his boats. The CEO desperately pleaded, explaining his company's survival depended on the deal. Junwoo calmly considered the plea, but stated his company had a reputation to uphold. He then questioned how he could work with a company run by a gangster father. The CEO screamed he would send his son abroad, but Jin-sung couldn't understand the punishment. But his father's only response was a brutal backhand across his son's face. Jin-sung could only stare in shock, unable to comprehend his father's sudden violence. The CEO screamed that his son should have kept his mouth shut, but Junwoo could only watch the brutal scene with a smug smirk. He then turned to Hanjun, remarking that the son was just like his bastard father. Junwoo laughed, questioning why the CEO would even consider sending his son abroad. He offered a better way to teach Jin-sung a lesson, one that would make him useful. He then reminded the CEO that his son's actions had just cost him 50 million won. He then offered a condescending solution, telling the CEO to make his son work for it. The CEO's mind reeled, unable to imagine how his son could earn that massive sum. But Junwoo only offered a cold, condescending smirk in response to the question. He reminded the CEO that deep-sea fishing paid well, a perfect job for his son. Jin-sung could only curse, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated horror. The scene then shifts to a lone fishing boat sailing out on the open sea. A heavy net was pulled from the water, marking the start of his new life. He screamed his father's name, his desperate cries echoing across the waves. The scene then shifts to a towering skyscraper, the heart of a new conflict. Hanjun stared at Junwoo, telling him that he was just like the devil. Junwoo simply smirked, amused by the demonic comparison. He then questioned why Hanjun was personally stepping in for this fight. Hanjun coldly stated that he wasn't hurt, dismissing Junwoo's concern entirely. But a sudden touch revealed a dark bruise on his neck, a clear sign of the fight. The woman from the street below mocked him for pretending to be so strong. He then formally introduced the woman, revealing their shared goal to destroy Nexus. The woman, an influencer named Choi Seo-yoon, disliked the term informant. She admitted she was surprised, having only heard he looked like a gangster. But she admitted that in person, he was actually quite handsome. Hanjun's expression remained cold and distant, completely unfazed by her compliment. Junwoo immediately cut her off, telling her to stop talking nonsense during work. Seo-yoon smirked, admitting she preferred gangster types over handsome men anyway. Junwoo started to scold her, but Hanjun cut in, demanding the reason for the meeting. Junwoo held back his annoyance, a strained smile on his face, as he prepared to speak. He explained that he had called them there to discuss their future strategy. Seo-yoon questioned the need for a plan, reminding him he'd let Hanjun handle it. But But Junwoo admitted that Nexus had grown too large for Hanjun to destroy alone. Junwoo revealed his plan to recruit more combat-oriented members for their growing team. He had a specific candidate in mind from Dongjin High School, a school controlled by Nexus. The mention of the school made Hanjun flinch, his body instantly going rigid. Hanjun uttered the name Kim Dong-yoon, a ghost from his past. Junwoo confirmed with a smug laugh that their target was indeed Kim Dong-yoon. Junwoo revealed that Kim Dong-yoon was his final ally in the Great War against Nexus. The man was Kim Dong-yoon, the former #1 fighter of Dongjin High. Hanjun cut him off, coldly confirming he knew exactly who they were talking about. Junwoo asked if he wondered how Dong-yoon recovered after a crippling knee injury. Junwoo insisted that despite the past, they absolutely needed Kim Dong-yoon on their side. But Hanjun remained silent, the name bringing back a flood of difficult memories. Junwoo mockingly told him to relax, reminding him that work was still work. Junwoo framed this next mission as a personal opportunity for Hanjun. He condescendingly suggested Hanjun could relax with his friend after they freed the school. But Hanjun's head snapped up, his eyes burning with a cold and silent fury.